Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3. Let's get some more. Have it in. Some more. Just give some more.
Why, hello, and welcome to My Whiskey Den, your favorite public access whiskey review show where craft whiskey is king, and a proud part of the Bar Cart Co-op, with other fine channels such as Bourbon Turntable and Distillers Talk. Now, before we go a second further, Mike, what do we tell our fans right now?
Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Hit that bell notification to find out when new episodes are coming out. If you're watching us live on Monday nights, when is our normal show time, please interact with the nice people in the chat. If you're watching us after the fact, please leave a comment down below and always hit that like button. Hit it 2 times. No, I'm sorry, hit it 3 times, because if you hit it 2 times, it won't show up as a like. Odd numbers of likes means positive.
Very good, and thank you to everyone in the chat who is here bright and early on time. I see John Krantz is out there. I see Spencer is out there. Spencer, happy birthday. I don't remember if I mentioned that last week, but I saw it was your birthday recently, so a little happy birthday. I hope you spent it well. But today, we are here for a different reason. We are here because it is Memorial Day. It is the tail end of a holiday weekend. But you wouldn't have a holiday weekend without the service of all the people in the military services. So we're going to take a brief moment at the beginning and give a moment of silence to everyone who lost their lives for this country. Okay. And now that you're done with most of the stuff in the weekend, you've had your cookout, you're exhausted, you've done all the yard work you didn't want to do, you've had too many beers, and first off, why were you drinking beer in the first place? Ugh. Switch on over.
To hydrate.
Well, I guess that's true. That's sure.
Yeah.
But thank you for stopping in at the end of your Memorial Day. Today we are going to be talking about kind of memorial whiskeys that left a huge impression, and maybe a story or two from service members in the past. I know I have one. I don't want funny, but a unique one from the past as a service member in my family. That I'll be willing to share here in a little bit. First off, what do you have in your cup there, Mike?
I'm actually I did a blend kind of off the cuff here. 2 whiskeys that were memorable to me as far as, things one I'm going to miss. One, I did a 50-50 of the Iron Root Hubris Hazmat.
You son of a bitch.
Which is... it's beautiful, and also I think you can still find this on Sealbox. Hazmat apple brandy.
Ooh, you're just burning jet fuel today.
Oh,
I love it.
The apple brandy, it works so well. That Hazmat apple brandy does, and I just on a whim I thought, well, I'll put the 2 of them on there because I've got to be friends with Mr. Bishop, and they still have, as long as they stay in this line, they still have the best labels in the business. And Iron Root, because Iron Root made me fall in love with Texas whiskey. I saw them on Scotch Test Dummies after the first Bastards Ball, and they just kept saying the one that knocked your socks off was Iron Root. And then when I finally got a hold of some, it was like, I'm in. I get it. So good stuff.
Well, let's see here. I don't know. I started off with this. This is more of like this. Oh, I guess this one was more of an Independence Day whiskey for me rather than a memorial whiskey. But it's one of the ones that was getting close to the bottom here. This is a Pike Street rye
Oh
that
yeah.
I have. It's a wheated bourbon from Minnesota. It's their oldest distillery, Panther. We've had some of their stuff in other blends, but for me, this gets into like the whole taxation and keeping government out. So this is more of an Independence Day whiskey. I guess I was grabbing ones that were close to the end, but yeah, this is one that like astonished me to Minnesota. Not only did I really enjoy this whiskey because like I said, I'd only had one other their thing at the time in a blend, and I liked the blend, but I hadn't had their whiskey. So, it was eye-opening because I enjoyed something from Minnesota, but this is as big as you can get from a distillery in Minnesota.
Yeah.
This one,
I was just going to say you can learn how good Minnesota whiskey can be, or whiskey from the north, and then you can learn how absolute full of horse shit the government can be and lawmakers can be, and that they can do that and completely restrict you for no apparent reason when you could back a truck up to a liquor store and load it up and drive it into a school bus. But God forbid you buy something larger than that from a distillery in Minnesota.
mm-hmm.
Thank you for saving our children, you wonderful, wonderful Minnesota elected officials.
Yeah, they had nothing to do with that statement. Just not to associate them with our statements, but I was just using the bottle as the appropriate size for what I can't believe is accurate. But
yes.
It is.
It's a sore spot.
And it affects like far north and other, Carver. You can't even buy a normal size bottle there. It's insulting to the whole craft. So yeah, maybe that was a more independent whiskey, but it was one that was close to the end, and I was grabbing, and I was like, maybe able to have enough of it to lay it to rest this evening.
Yeah. I spent a week in Minnesota here a couple of weeks ago, a week and a half ago, whatever, and did stop in to do some browsing at a couple of stores. And there was one store up in Fergus Falls, which is not too far from Fargo, and they had barrel picks of Pike Street, and
dude, there's a hummingbird at my window.
They had Pike Street, and then there was no, and I don't know why. They had a Far North barrel pick too, but they had. They had a couple from Panther there. I didn't buy any, but it was cool to see them there.
Oh, it's good to see stores supporting local stuff. That's really nice quality. Hold on a second here. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So, all right. One of the stories I was going to talk about just from the past is in my family. Sorry, I'm getting another glass. That's the beauty of having a bar right here. I can just keep reaching for new ones. We can load up the table. Is my great, I think there's one more great in there. Grandfather was a guard for President Lincoln, and he was discharged 2 weeks before Lincoln died because a month beforehand there was a different attempt on Lincoln's life, and my great grandfather lost 2 of his fingers when someone was shooting at Abraham Lincoln. So not dead, but interesting family story in the military.
Yeah. Well, I don't have anything that cool, but our big one.
Did genealogy before it was easily accessed. So she went to like DC and went through the archives and whatnot. Yeah. So there are a few cool stories she dug up.
That's cool. We had my mom's dad was in the military, several uncles in the military, but we had in between my 7th and 8th grade year of school, my grandma lost 3 of her brothers. And it was, I mean, it was just weird. It was like one instantly, it was, my great uncle, George, who my son's named after. And then, but then the one that during the winter, the one in the middle that died was my great uncle Andrew, who I didn't really know because I mean he lived in Illinois, and I remember like seeing him again at all of the stuff around George's death, and but still again just I didn't really know him, but so anyway, found out he had died. He had been dead for a couple of weeks when his landlady had found him. So the whole thing is my dad and my grandma and I think my aunt went and drove over to Illinois to go pick up his things, and they brought all of it back to my grandma's house. And he was in World War II, didn't really talk about it like a lot of people that had gone to war then. My grandma knew enough about it, but not everything about obviously what had happened. But we started piecing things together in this guy's life and started finding some of his military stuff. And then we found like coats with wads of cash. And then there were also all these shoe boxes that were on index cards, play by play of major sports. So, and then we found a couple of ledgers. And my dad's like, holy shit, Andrew was a bookie. so, and the thing is, I mean, he had, World Series from the 50s and 60s. He had them all in shoe boxes on index cards. My grandma ended up throwing all that stuff away. But we started going through all these things, and we knew he was in the military because my grandma had told us he had been in the military and come back and had brought some things over from Germany, etc. So several months after he dies, these very important looking people came to my grandma's house because she was the next of kin, and delivered her the certified letter. And he got a letter from Ronald Reagan, or she got a letter from Ronald Reagan. And it was because Andrew had won the Bronze Star and because he passed away. And my grandma knew he'd gotten awards, but didn't really know all the stuff about it. Well, then we found out more about what he did to get the Bronze Star, and then started finding more things. And I've got all of his medals and everything now. And we were piecing it together with some friends who are in the military, and they're like, yeah, he's got that and that and that and that. He was probably a sniper, which isn't why he got the Bronze Star. He charged a machine gun nest, and that's how he got it. But anyway, it was really cool, like piecing together this. I mean, somebody you didn't know, and of course he would have never talked about it anyway. He didn't have any kids, and wasn't married. Lived a bachelor's life, running books in Illinois apparently, and all this time was like so many of them, for lack of a better term, a war hero that didn't want to hear anything about it.
Was it? And there's a lot of that where it was quiet for a long time, right? And a lot of people don't talk about what happened.
Those kids were young. I mean, they were young when they went there. You got 18, 19-year-old kids, and they're in charge of somebody else over there, and they saw some bad stuff. Mm-hmm. And they, yeah, it was pretty. It would be interesting to be able to talk with him and just to see what he was like before and after. But he was so much older, and I didn't really know him, but yeah, it was kind of cool to put that together. And then you can see all the military history, you can research all that. That's all record. And then, we've got his discharge papers and everything else. And it's really pretty cool, to think about that. He went over there and was over there for 4 years. So pretty crazy.
Spencer, I am going to say American rye. It's pretty open. Keeping it in the country. It's like the new craze after bourbon.
All the kids are talking about it, Spencer.
It's all the rave. I think actually that's a lot of people from that time frame. If you it left such a traumatic experience. Most of them didn't talk about it. There was like a whole generation of like quiet about what happened, and they went about their life doing their own thing. Not saying they didn't have issues from what happened, but it was kind of that, pack it in, seal it up. Still was at that point. I know my dad did when he was in Korea. It took a long time for him to open up, and he was just on the Air Force base doing stuff. And he's, yeah. All of a sudden you start peeling off what happened, like I know one time like the I forget what it wasn't a Boeing, but it was one of the planes ended up like blowing two engines and it was going down, but so everyone had to get off and parachute off, and like there was some still being shot at and other issues, and the guy was in the plane had to make it to its destination because whatever was on it needed to get there even if it was shot down. And he's like, yeah, that was a bit much. He's like, especially since I was just supposed to be like the fueling tech guy, tossed in the middle of everything exciting like that. But there was a lot of people that knew that didn't come back from missions, or like when you're going to do stuff out on a plane, like there were sandbag pits and little areas, because as you're doing stuff off from the edge of the base, you'd start getting shot at and you'd have to haul ass and dive over the top. And he didn't. It came close to him getting run through one time because it was winter. Had a big, huge, almost like a Star Wars-esque mask, like Han Solo on Hoth, like big furry hood thing on. And someone was yelling to him and he couldn't hear him because of the wind. And he didn't respond. And finally, as the guy put the bayonet right in his back, he like stood up and like said something in English. He was like, is this close? He was like, it was this close to you just that being the end of you. Because there was other stuff. I don't know. It's even with something like that where it was, still kind of ended up being light. Like it was still hard to bring some of that out, or took a little bit to, break down that extra wall. And for a lot of people, that was built for a reason, And like you said, like especially in World War II, you're guaranteed to see something absolutely disturbing if you were on tour. So don't care what it was.
And at that time, not that anything is easier now by any means, because as our military technology advances, so does other people's, as far as what you're wearing and how you're protected and so on. But when you look at like go to an Air Force museum, go to the National Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio, and you go in there and you see the history of flight, and you see experimental aircraft that is basically a tube with a piece of plywood and a strap of leather for a seat. And it has the unofficial altitude and speed record. it was brought up, and it was a tube, and stuff like that, where they're like, hey, we're going to send you up there. You might not come back. And they're like, okay. But then you look at some of the planes that have been restored from World War II, and we were, I remember we were walking under it, and you see the Peacemaker, the B-36, and we're just walking under it, and it's just like, I'm still walking under this plane. It was just massive, but the bomb doors are open, and there was like a platform, or not platform, it was a board basically. And to get from the mid front to the back, you laid on this board, and you had this cable, and you shimmy to go whatever it was, 50 feet, 70 feet, whatever it was, front to back, in a tube, and you're like, there's no way my fat ass is getting there at all. But you're talking 18, 19, 20-year-old kids that are up there, they're flying the plane. You're like, all right, Jimmy, now go get to the back, and he's shuttling on there like Hogan's Heroes, man, all the way to the back, and then coming back and forth. And it's really, you see those where they were just purpose built, and just the youth of the kids that were having to do that. I mean, it wasn't not advanced radar and advanced maneuvers, or measures to get them out of trouble. It was, you're going to take some fire, you're going to do this. And there's, unfortunately, a lot of people were lost to that, which I mean, it's a shame, just like with any other conflict. It's a shame when you lose people to that, but it's just crazy. There's a reason people don't want to talk about it. So.
Yeah. Yeah, Emily was saying, like her grandfather was, talked about like pulling friends out of the river, like on his day off, like they're camping, like those were some of the the stories
Yeah.
you heard. I've, and some of those ones I heard some of those ones like from my father because those are good stories. That was the one where you saved two of your friends that day, and you don't look at it you look at it weird, but you can be in a weird situation and you walk away with a couple of the people you care about, and I don't
Yeah.
know. That day will leave a mark. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry, whole thing is it gets kind of tough to talk about. That's all. You start thinking about sorry, being the history buff and the way it excites me. Going back the whole time, you understand war, but does seem like a bit of a waste to
Yeah.
erase this just for moving
Yeah.
forward. Wasted resources, wasted lives. Um, don't get me wrong, I do. It's not like I don't understand history and how everything comes together and plays into effect, but that's frustrating. Never
Yeah.
feel like we're gonna get up here as a race. Like we're always shooting a little low. So
Yeah. Who knows? Someday. And yeah, we've got we're fortunate for the educational experience in Kansas City. We have the National World War One Museum, which is really awesome to see, and it really does. You learn a little bit about World War One in school, but not a lot. I mean, you learn about Archduke Ferdinand. Okay, fine. You learn that Nazis were, or, I'm sorry, not Nazis, the Germans were defeated, and it's like, you guys aren't supposed to have an army anymore, and you learn little things like that. You learn a lot of people went there, but you don't really learn how many people lost their lives. They just kept throwing people at that war. Just massive loss in World War One. That a lot of that gets lost to a lot of it, I think, is lost to the history, that just the scope of it as compared to World War II. And I think there'll be a time where people don't think about World War II, especially some of the younger kids. They might only think about the Gulf War and barely even think at all about Vietnam. But
well, and the amount that you lost in some of those earlier wars, when you think percentagely to the world population at that point, they were
yeah,
massive chunks.
oh yeah,
Like there was no, like, Russia was, I'm sorry, I don't remember off the top of my head.
oh,
World
World
War
War
One
II,
or
yeah,
Russia.
Russia was like something like 10 million, 20 million,
It was
just
yeah, and that was like
crazy.
recorded. I remember they were like, we think it's
Yeah,
like maybe another 20 to 40. I remember they were
yeah,
like, it could be more.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. No, it was crazy. And and growing up, my dad would talk about, because he got his notice in to go report to the draft station for Vietnam, but they didn't end up taking him, but they took his best friend, and and he lost friends over in Vietnam. My dad, he didn't have to go. I guess you call it lucked out. I wonder how he would have fared and what would have happened if he would have went, because I know his best friend came back, and I know he wasn't the same, and he didn't talk about stuff for quite a while afterwards. But they also at the same time were just like, suck it up. You'll get over it. It's kind of the mentality of stuff when they stick somebody in a horrific situation and they have to do that. And I mean, what's worse, coming back damaged or not coming back at all? So I mean, that's hard.
so going
Hmm.
sliding gears, keeping on the Memorial Day, talking about whiskeys that left an impact or a memory. You hit two earlier. That was really good. Like I said, I kind of branched off there, but I was glad to see you jumped on the bandwagon with your rant. Thanks for backing me up with that. Um, but a different one that left a memory is what I have left
Oh Lord.
of Little Three Brothers. Good weekend. This one, since it's the very bottom of this, has an intense amount of cinnamon.
Is that number
Lovely
1 or
hollow.
number 4?
I don't remember. I think it. What did you all get? You got both, didn't you?
I got 1 and 4 because 1 was just a wonderfully solid bourbon, and 4 was like a desserty bourbon.
It was 4.
Okay.
It's like caramely, bananas, Foster, super syrupy, little aftertaste, brighter cinnamon, chocolate, pepper.
I just killed my 2 bottles of that.
Okay.
Ooh,
So anyway, it's a good weekend. It's when I met everybody in person on the show for the first time. So it's always nice.
Well, you and I had met before.
We had met before, but we hadn't met.
Yeah.
Ben had never been a part of it, and then we all ended up in a bed together. So what else can you say?
What happens in Indiana stays in Indiana.
I thought it was Kentucky. I felt better about the laws there, right? Is that? I wasn't. I thought so. No, I don't know.
Kentucky laws are a little bit different.
I don't know what they allow and what they don't. But that's just because I'm going to finish this off tonight. Other ones that I remember, a really basic one. Oh, shit, I must have moved around too much. The camera can't catch up. Lafroig 10 for me. There's 2 of them here. These are the 2 Scotchy PD ones. It was Talisker Storm. That one actually got me hooked because I felt like I was breathing campfire afterwards for like 35 minutes to an hour. Like I came home and I got past Sherry and she's like, "What am I?" She's like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was exciting. It was a good day at work." But I don't know. So that was one, and then Lafroig 10 was one because I don't like too much medicinal note in some scotches, and I don't get along. But that was the one where I felt like I hit a descriptive pattern on it right away. Like it just put me in the right place. That was the one where I was like, oh, I feel like I'm in a dirty old, like 1930s or 40s hospital where they use really cheap, shitty antiseptic to clean. The doctors are still smoking while they're working on the patients. Like, it has this little like stale, dusty smoke thing going on. And I'm like, I think, and there was more to it. And I was like, okay, I feel like I hit this. Like it brought me down. Like I felt like I was walking down the hallways of this like place with, like where your grandma or grandpa used to be, like a shitty nursing home. It's just like, ugh. Like you didn't want to be there. No one wanted to be at this place, but it tasted delightful. I loved it. It was like I didn't know how I could be like so vivid about almost a disgusting, like putting off description and be like, it's fantastic. I'll drink the whole fucking bottle. Stand back. Like it sounds like I was crapping on you, but it's fantastic. A little bit of tire fire in there, not like Ardbeg, but a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Lafroig smells like it should be bad for you, and Ardbeg smells like it's going to hurt you. and I love them both. I really do. It's like there's moods where it's just like I want that medicinal brine Lafroig, especially like out of a Lafroig 10 cast strength. It's like I want that. I want you to rough me up a little bit. Ardbeg is just that it's a different kind of getting smacked around. It's more oily and say maybe more oily and meaty, but also maybe a little more sensual than Lafroig is. It's kind of maybe it's like if you yelled both names, Lafroig sounds more violent than Ardbeg doesn't sound as violent.
Ardbeg is wearing a glove when it slaps.
That's right. A leather glove.
Leather glove.
Soft leather glove. Yes. a soft leather glove that's been sitting in a humidor. Such good stuff.
Emily saw that talking about Jason again and the other people on that team.
Yep.
Yeah, they're doing fantastic stuff. They're
Yeah,
talking about
they
other things
hide
that come out.
nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're buying it from here. Yep, it's 3-year-old and 2-year-old rye. But you know what we're doing that nobody else is doing? We have our own barrels, their own proprietary barrels that they're using, and they're what Jason and his team are doing with those MGP rye whiskeys is nothing short of delicious.
And it's
Get you some.
And it's what people should be doing with
Yes.
well, when they could get MGP rye whiskey at much easier and an easier time in history, that's what they should have been doing with it. I mean,
Yep.
because just getting it and turning it around, that's only so exciting. You know,
Or
what I
lying
mean?
about it.
Yeah, or lying about it. Well, they didn't. Other people had to have lied about it, if I'm not correct.
No, MGP didn't lie about it.
Yeah,
They sold
someone
it,
else.
but it was
Yeah, they
people.
sold it, but other people did. That gets into the same thing with, was it Beam's 15-year-old, 14-year-old shit that was like everywhere, and it was like, oh my god, it's this year's. I'm like, how long before you run out? You know? Like,
Yeah. There's big stocks of old Beam, big stocks of old Dickel, big stocks of old Barton's floating around there, and all of it's going away.
I'm actually pretty excited about that, because to me that was like the flash in the pan whiskey stuff where it blew out, and like now you're gonna have to do something interesting to stay in the game.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. And then Jason said, you know, he's not a rye person, so he wanted to create a rye that somebody who doesn't like rye would like,
and it worked.
Oh my god, did it work?
Sorry, you know where I hit on that one. Oh yeah, tobacco barrels. It's been one or two places we've heard about that. I don't know if you heard on that one, because I didn't watch that one, but I have seen some other people who played with it. Tobacco barrels are touchy. Like they have to pay attention to them a bit, because it can affect things pretty quickly. It still might take months, but it's like there's a point where it's like the tipping goes quick.
Yeah. But find the Buzzard's Roost distributor. This distribution is expanding. Find it. There's a bottle of the cigar rye sitting on my shelf at Chateau de Rose, along with a couple of others. But there's still another Buzzard's Roost that I don't have. I can't remember what it is, but no, Buzzard's Roost is worth getting. I'm switching over to, this is another memorable whiskey by Middleton Dare Gaelic Grinsel's Wood. It is about done, so I'll have to accelerate the finishing of that bottle.
That's the one that I used in a mixed drink, and you got all mad for a second.
Well, as long as you tried it straight up first.
That's I did. I drank at least half of it straight up, and then I poured a little into a mixed drink, and it was like, it was one of those days where I was like, I think I broke Mike's brain for a second.
Yeah, no, my brain is long broken. Oh my god! I mean, this, especially coming off of those two mixed together as a hazmat.
Hazmat's neat.
It's just like a breath of fresh air. So yeah, such good stuff.
Let's see here. Other memorable bottles that, like, Rua. The first time I had that, just because it was lighter. I remember that
Rua is on my list of one that's memorable for a couple of reasons. One, it blew my socks off for American single malt. And the other thing, Rua was like the first thing that the three of us had a consensus on. That we were all just like, did you try Rua? Yeah. Did you try the Rua? Yeah. Did you try the Rua? Yeah. And all three of us were just nuts over it. And which that was a great memory. And Ollie was great. Ollie was great to talk to.
I just like how you're honest about it. Like, that was the first time we had a consensus about something.
I mean,
no, I know we're close, but there's a point where it's like, yeah, there is some inner, like, well, did you get this plate? What about that? No, like, even when Ben and I were discussing Lee Sinclair versus where I put Crooked Waters last year, we're like, Ben's like, there's one note. I'm like, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like that, there's that one thing. I'm like, if you're being really a nitpicky asshole, I know what note you're looking for. He's like, yeah. Other than that, I'm like, yep. But yeah, it's just to get people all on the same page about something. Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, Spencer, I'll have to get you one. I haven't had a new Arua since they had Brunhilde changed out. Um, but we
I
can
haven't
make that
either.
adjustment.
Yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
either since they did that. But and they also, Rua was getting older too. The Ruas that we had were the earlier ones that were 18 months old.
Mm-hmm.
And oh dear God,
Yeah. And
frosted
John,
apple bear claw,
yeah,
100%.
it was cinnamon. I know it was like an apple
Yes,
cinnamon bear claw. It was the
yes,
frosting and the glaze. Yeah.
and the pastry.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
one was fantastic. So Spencer, well, I think I got a thing at Sealbox. Maybe I'll get a new bottle and we'll see where that has gone from then. John's right though. Finishing Rua changes it monstrously, but I haven't had a bad
yes,
luck.
yeah.
Plus,
That
they're like
port.
damn near. They're not hazmat, but they release them at like 60, like 60,
Yeah,
61. They're high for
that
finished
that
product.
port was a port monster. It wasn't even a bomb. It was a monster. It just kept coming at you. That was so good.
We were talking about getting slapped by a hand with a glove on it. That was it. It was like getting beat, and you're just what? Oh,
Yeah, it was
she's
great.
like, hold on, slow down. Yeah,
It was
that
like
was.
eating too many sweets. Where you just like, I shouldn't do this. I'm gonna get sick, but I'm just gonna have one more,
Yeah.
and
It's
I
like
know
having
I'm
some
gonna
water,
feel bad.
and then you have
I
like a little
know.
bit of water, and you wash
Yeah.
it down for a second, and you're like,
Okay, I'm gonna
well,
have
there's like
one
four
more.
left. I'm gonna finish. I'm just gonna have one more because there's only
Yeah.
like four left.
So it's already beaten me up. I might as well just have another one. Yeah.
Let's see here.
Mm.
This year, one that surprised me, and I don't know if I'll be getting, but I'm gonna try to, is Baum Brothers Cigar Blend. That was really
Okay.
good, very
I
very
would
good.
I would think so. They seem to make some pretty good whiskey.
They they're one of the ones that I like their stuff, but almost like Widow Jane's progression. Like every time I have something a year or two down the road or whatever special, you see the complexity continuing to grow. Like it's
Yeah.
not losing anything. It's like, oh, you keep now you're just it's like now they learned how to throw a curveball and this and it's all coming
Yeah.
together. You know, it's I equate it to seeing a prize fighter evolve over a career. Um, like some of these places.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen some like I remember Manny Pacquiao when he beat Antonio Barrera, and it was pretty much just a little 1-2
Yeah.
jab. That's all he had. He had nothing else. No roundhouse moving. Vaguely okay footwork at that point, and then to see him like fight after fight, like all of a sudden, like you saw him, he's like, oh, he must have been working on a hook this time because he's real. And like you saw him start, and then all of a sudden it start to build and put together. I don't care if he did steroids or not, or anyone else is like, whatever happened, I don't give a shit. I just, as you see it come together, you saw some of the skills fall into place. Where not everyone learns everything. Some people just keep one thing. I don't know. It's seeing that like, okay, sweet, fantastic. It's a I don't want to say a great start, but they have a really good product. But then as it goes, each and every time it's better. It's better.
Yeah.
It's better. And you're like F&A cotton. That's like now you're
Yeah.
just like now it's like okay, now next year you got to pay attention to whatever they're putting out. What is it? How do we get it? Is there someone in the area that can go find one of these special releases?
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see them like falling into that category. Not that they weren't, but just to see that like ever betterment. Like you're happy, but it's like holy shit.
Right.
So What's up, Biking? Good to see you sneaking in here at the end. Thank you. Oh, must be time to go to bed. I hear some pounding.
Here's some footsteps.
I hear some footsteps.
Yeah.
What's one this year that kind of caught you, Mike?
This year, that's a good question. I won't say this calendar year yet, but I'll say like in the last year, Glens Creek. That was one. That was my distillery of the year, just because, man, there's just something about that their whiskey, the tasting and everything was good, but all the ones there's just great butter note that goes through all of their stuff. That's really good.
Makes you excited for Old Crow. Oh,
yeah, and I was thinking about that, and Biking mentioned Peerless. Yeah, there's a couple of Peerless single barrels that I had in this last year, and I just finished my glazed berry donut bottle. Oh God, that was good. that was really, really good. Got several bottles finished off. I got with some friends here in the last couple of weeks, and I wanted to get them to have some things that I knew that they wouldn't get to have, like finishing off the Three Boys, both of my threes, the Peerless. What were some of the other ones we finished off? There were several ones like samples of, because I usually don't finish the samples when we do the show. So I brought tons of those with me to finish off. I'm trying to think of what other ones. But yeah, that glazed berry donut, that was one that as soon as I got it, it's like I should have asked for two. I mean, that's kind of it should be the rule for Peerless, is that if you're going to go and get a Peerless single barrel, just buy two, because you're not going to get it again. So, and there's a really good chance. There's a 95+% chance that for a Peerless single barrel, not saying Peerless, I'm saying Peerless single barrel picks, when they've named it what it should taste like, there's that strong of a chance that you're just going to like it. So just buy the second one.
Yeah, their single barrel picks are fantastic. Like, I was just going to ask Biking, did you get to have, oh God, it was the Sassafras one release they had last year.
That was so good.
Had it not been for the 3-chamber rye, that probably would have been my rye of the year. That was like left field. Oh my! It was absolutely fantastic for a different rye, but it was so sassafrasy, exciting, just vanilla. It was fantastic, and I was not expecting that. Like you said, any of the named ones, like they pretty much nail it down when they do it.
Yeah, their naming, they hit it. You mentioned Leopold, and I will say in the last few weeks, I have done some of my pre-made Manhattans, and I have been adding the Leopold tart cherry liqueur to jazz up the Manhattan. that Leopold tart cherry liqueur on its own, it is sweet. There's a sweetness to it, but it's like, I'll equate it, but it's not. I don't think it's a good comparison. Like if you were going to drink the Luxardo, or just use the Luxardo cherry juice.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
but it's so much more than that. And because it's Leopold, you know that it was made very well. But oh my God, you talk about, I mean, just on its own, that or just using it as a compliment to something is really good. I'm trying to remember how Fred Swanson said how he likes to drink, because he drinks that tart cherry, but he does something specific with it. I don't remember what it is, but that I put that in a Manhattan. Oh God, it opened up a portal. That was magical. That was yeah. I've got that bottle's waiting for me at a cabin in Minnesota that I'll be back at in a couple of weeks. And
you left it behind?
I left it behind so I could have Manhattan while I'm there.
Doesn't trust himself with it otherwise.
Well, I figured I want to bring it back anyway, so I left it, and I left it in my vermouth up there. So all I've got to do is bring my other stuff. So you got to keep things,
especially if it's like special vermouth or anything. But
no, nothing special about the vermouth. So, yeah, I'm trying to think of other memorable ones. I'll move on to another whiskey. I had Irish, which I do really like Irish. I'm sure like a lot of white people. I have I have some amount of Irish in my lineage. There's not much. Most of mine's Croatian. Patty's leaving. He made me big. But I've got Irish in the last few years has become a little more special to me because we well, not under my suggestion, but the day my wife passed away, my friend and neighbor came over and she's like, we're going to give her an Irish wake because she had a lot of Irish heritage. So we got out all the Irish whiskey and toasted her that night. So now every time I have Irish, I think about that. And I had another one, which I grabbed, and there's that bottle, the bottle with the horsey that I've talked about before. And I'm sure people get really tired of me talking about that one. The whiskey itself is okay. It's more about the bottle. But I had a friend of mine had given me a few bottles of whiskey when my wife got diagnosed. He goes, here, take these, commiserate with them, or sell them to pay medical bills, or do whatever you want to do with them. But, do this. So he gave me a bottle of Van Winkle 12, which I ended up trading that off for something else to share with a group of people. He gave me a bottle of Midwinter's Dram. Ooh. And then he gave me this bottle of Jefferson's 18. And so this one, I finally opened it. I wasn't sure because I'm like, I don't know, there wasn't really anything to celebrate. I did open it when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. So I don't drink it that often, but it's one that it's more of a, I'm never ever going to replace it again, and I wouldn't say it's not my greatest or my most special, but it is a very memorable whiskey for the circumstances of which I acquired it. And so I try to make the opening of it, make it for something memorable usually for somebody else. I don't have it by myself. I'll have it with somebody else so they can, people, what age horrors or not, people like, when you're like, hey, this is a really, oh, okay, they get excited about that. So anyway,
I remember sharing Pappy. I think it was 15. I was excited. Yeah. And I'm just like, yeah, go ahead. Have at it.
It's fun to see people get excited about that, and which is, yeah, it's all good.
I was like,
good stuff
there afterwards.
I'm trying to think of what other one. Honestly, you know what? A memorable whiskey just as a brand. I'm always going to have fond memories of Makers. I like Makers. Makers makes a solid Manhattan. It's one of the prettiest tours if you go, especially stuff they've done. Oh, it's a beautiful tour. Makers cast strength is great. the new private selects that they're doing, man, they're really good. But there's just personal reasons behind that with Makers. I'll always like it. And I have several, and I'm a Makers ambassador. Highly suggest that you sign up if you haven't done that. And because of that, I've got a bottle with each of my kids' names on it for them to have for something, which is really cool. And
is it the standard release, or are they giving you something a little different?
It's standard, but it's a 1 liter bottle when you do that from the barrel. Yeah. So yeah, and you could do whatever you want. So when I did mine, because I signed up for the ambassador, and then they sent me something like right away, like when the first couple of months, and my wife was making fun of me, and she said I was a dork, for doing that. And so then I thought I was funny, so I signed her up without her knowing, and the timing was such that she got a Christmas gift like right away, and she's like, "What did you do?" So when my barrel became mature, my son went with me, and we went, and I just got my name on all 3 of my bottles. Well, it was about 7-8 months after that, we went to go do my wife's, and she didn't drink whiskey, but we went there. They're like, well, what do you want on your bottles? And she was in, because you can get 3, and she goes, well, I'll just put each of the kids' names on one. And I thought, that's why you're a much nicer person than me, because I put my name on them. so she had
number 2.
Yeah, so she had each of the kids put it, and when I was there, the guy that was helping her, he goes, "Oh, you should sign up." And I said, "I already did. I got mine, and so I'm done." And he goes, "Just sign up under another email address." so I did. So I've got, so, and those are now mature. So I've got to go pick those up sometime this year if I choose to make that trip. So, yeah.
Let's see. Something, I'm trying to think of something else that was like a memorable one. That is a good area.
That was a good day.
Did we go to Woodford that day? No, I don't think so. But it's a good tour anyways.
Yeah. I mean, other one memory, okay, recent memory, going to Stumpy's for their release of their first, that bottled and bond wheat whiskey. That was a really good day, really good whiskey, very nice people. Killer still. Uh-oh.
I'll be I'll be right back in a second. Sorry.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah. But now that Stumpy's, that was really good. Spending time at Wood Hat, just local, because it's basically along the line for me. Wood Hat's that's always a good experience. Also recently I did a tasting of experimentals from Wood Hat. Holy crap, you guys. It was they were, I'll tell you what they were. These were Gary's experiments, and you can probably guess they were pretty good. There was a honey barrel red corn bourbon, 100% orange flint corn whiskey, and this 100% orange flint corn whiskey smelled like an orange Julius. It was really freaking good, and it was only 1 year old. Like, you have to bottle this, Gary, and you need to make more of it. Then there was a 6-year Bloody Butcher barrel. And then there was a, and the 6-year, hold on a second. And then there was a hazmat. I think I'm missing one of my samples. Then there was a 4-year Tawny Barrel cordial. I think I am missing one of my samples. But there's, one of these was hazmat, and it was hazmat Wood Hat. Not only does it sound fun and is difficult to say, it was really good. That was another good memory. And I haven't seen her tonight, but just in case that she's listening in or whatever, we do want to thank, because some of our friends in the chat did do it, put in their service to the country. I haven't seen Miss Renita. Renita served a country in the, I believe, the Army. Her daughter is currently serving as well. I'm sure that there are others.
Sorry. I know there's plenty of people that have watched it have been in the military, so thank you for your service and what you do. And I gotta say, we're working on Pete. He was wants to wait till the high school golf season was getting done, so he had a little bit more free time to work into his schedule. Is another love of his life. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mitch was there at Stumpy's Day. That was good. Mitch stuck around for a tour, and Kevin and I coated our stomach.
Okay. On that one, a note of memorable days, and Mitch is there, and whiskeys. I still have like half a bottle of the first Eleanor from Crowded Barrel downstairs, covered away. Really, another one of those, you can do something different after you get MGP type of experiences.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, See,
It's possible to do it and not lie about it, or not be deceiving about it. Maybe that's a better way to say it, to not be deceiving.
Mm-hmm. But that bottle reminded, that was a big weekend. That was a lot of fun weekend, a lot of different people. If you haven't gone, I haven't been back since, but I'm going to tell you it's probably an even bigger experience than what it was. Um, but I got to meet all sorts of people before I even knew who they were. So that happens sometimes. Like Scotch test dummies, a couple other people. I was just talking to people. I didn't realize the type of presence I was in at a moment. You know, like it doesn't always catch you, and I don't want to say people don't look the same, but if you're not, I think we had gotten off a plane. I hadn't eaten a lot. We'd gotten there. We're just trying to help people set up. And then I'm like, I think I went and got a taco from some stand on the street. I'm like, I got to eat something. I'm dying. Like you can tell when you're starting to get bitchy and you're not becoming a good person because you haven't eaten that yet. So I was like, I'm not going to be any use to anybody. So we went and got something to eat, and like, yeah, there was, looking back on that day, there was a whole bunch of people and YouTubers and whatever just hanging out. And I don't know. I remember that day. It was just, I didn't look at anyone that way. It was all just a bunch of people who were enjoying the moment and like what's going on. So I don't know. And besides the whole event of going to Crowded Barrel, that's a whole different experience. But so I highly suggest going if you haven't been. But going that weekend, probably a little bit overwhelming. I don't know when it's going to be and stuff. So, but that's a good bottle for me. That one holds a little tie to everything, and it's not empty either. Some of these ones I've dwindled down. That one's kind of holding out in the back.
So I was going to ask you, what's your criteria for opening that bottle?
Ooh, if you haven't had anything from them, a lot of times I'll do that. But I guess it's not just anybody, but yeah, if you haven't had anything from them, or if you were there, like if you were at that event, I'll bring it out. Otherwise, it's just kind of a reflection whiskey, if you would.
Yeah.
Sit back, think about stuff that happened. Kind of like when Nancy Fraley sent us like 2 different cigar blend options. Like this is the 28, this is the 24. And I remember sipping the rest of the 24 by myself in front of the fireplace, going, "This is fan." Like when I was like, "This is a great moment in my life."
Yeah.
It sounds dumb, but that's when you have a whiskey or something, and it does create that kind of like, hold on here, this is transcendent for a minute. Like this is fantastic. Hold on, or shut up. One or the other. Don't talk to me.
Yeah. I was trying to think of it and other memorable. Of course, I'll think about them as soon as we stop the show. Other memorable ones, but
yeah, like you said. Well, Gary there's his bottles. I'm intrigued about that orange Flint talked about.
Dude, it was
Same like that.
it was so good.
Yeah, the Corn King. Trying to come up with a different name, a whole other name for him because it's insane.
Yeah, and we'll have to see the Grain Master.
Grain Master.
Yeah, I mean, in the last year, I guess 15 months, going to Hartfield, that was a big one because I'd had it before, but then going there and trying that, get some of the spirits that Kelly had made. That young wheat whiskey just blew the doors off of, just blew my doors off and blew doors off of other whiskeys I tried it up against. That was a really good one. I'm trying to think about other ones there. I mean, I'd say consistently what's become a really great one, and not to take away from any other Texas whiskeys, but when Iron Root says that they have something new coming out, it's like, okay, I'm in. And it's just because I don't think they can miss. And they're not saturating with a whole lot of different ones or anything. They just, whatever they're putting out, there's just something about it. And I feel the same way about French Lick, with the stuff Alan's putting out. I mean, even the stuff that he's like, yeah, this one's not my favorite, talking about the Cassia bourbon, but it's like, holy crap, that Cassia bourbon's really good. And coming out with these odd releases that, of course, we can't get because they don't ship anywhere. But those have been fun. Just a fun experience to deal with. But and I would say, stop watching us and go to Sealbox. Try to find this Hazmat apple brandy, because holy crap.
I was bringing up getting someone from Ledge Rock on. I have. There's a lot of things from after Distill America, different points and slotting things and people for the future. And I believe he was one of them. But they were also on, and I'll link to it and post it in Facebook. A Discover Wisconsin. It's one of those shows, kind of like a Discover the State show, but it's actually pretty decent if you're going to travel in the state or go do something. They started bringing up our bourbon trail, because now every state has a bourbon trail. But they went to Ledge Rock, J. Henry. Oh God, I forget the other two, and I'm gonna get slapped for it. A Dancing Goat. I can't remember the last one, but sorry about that last distillery. My bad. But it was a fantastic. It's like a half an hour show or an hour show, and it was actually a really good introduction. They sat down with each of the people. I was like, hey, now all you need to do is do this for everybody, because you actually produce something. How often is it you watch something that's whiskey related that is actually not just produced well, but it has like a good discussion. You're displaying the people, the product, and everything, not just in the right light, but they are the right type of people to have in the right light. This. A lot of times it's a little clashy, and sometimes it doesn't go so well, But I thought it was a wonderful display of each of the distilleries or whiskeys that stops on the trail. Plenty more, though. It's one of those ones where I was like, well, I can add like 3 or 4 more. So yeah, on that note, there's a few. Just mentioning that there's like 4 or 5 other people that we're working with getting on. I know we do have Dave from Natural Spirits. They're opening a new distillery. Great. Oh, a distillery and a whiskey that made a memory on me was Great Northern, which was in Plover. It's closed. They're opening a new distillery in Stevens Point, I think later this summer. They're finally opening that, and we're going to have Brian on then. But they had a bourbon, the Vanguard whiskey. I think it was batch 9 and batch it was 13. They had 2. One was really good, and one was. And then afterwards, it put the foot off the gas for a little bit. Still good, not what that was. Like the honey barrel, basically. Like 13 was like win awards good. Like my friends who weren't into whiskey, Rick bought like 6 bottles of it. Just boom, boom. Every week it was like we finished off 1.5. It was just like, fantastic. So that was one in my head, like when we had it and we knew it, like what it was. That was the first time I cared about like a batch. You know what I mean? Like seriously, like we had one that came out after. It's like, it's good, but it's not, it's not the same. Like it's missing a little bit here and here. But yeah, that was the first time I cared about like a batch where I was like, oh, you have a 9 or a 13? I'll take them. What, like all 6? thank you. Like I'll recoup my money from my friends. This, not even a question. Like other times they're like, oh, I don't want to chip in for Jefferson's Ocean. It's like $70, and you bring a case of 6 over. They're like, oh, here's $100. Here, did you find any more? So yeah, that's one that's a different one that kind of caught me by surprise. But yeah, left a memory for me, or left a little imprint. But we are a little over an hour. I'm gonna say I think we should probably cut it here soon. The Whiskey Crusaders are going to be going on shortly, and they're having their 3-year anniversary show this evening. So yeah, I don't want to cut into them.
And we next week for us, no show for us next week.
No show the next. Oh, something's crawling on me. Sorry, bugs.
Yeah.
No show next week. I'm gonna be in the woods. The bike's gonna be.
I'm gonna be in the Texas.
He's gonna be in the Texas, and Ben's gonna be in a green.
In the work.
Yeah, Ben's gonna be in a green vat, so you're gonna have to wait on that. So we're taking a break next week. Be good
for the dozens of you that watch. You should just hang out in the chat room ahead of Whiskey Crusaders and throw them off. And they'll be like, "Why are people in here for an hour before the show?"
Yeah, have your own comment and chat about stuff. You can bring up our show.
Just totally tailgate pregame their show.
I don't care if you disparage us or anything. Just have the chat to really throw them off. You're like, "Wow, this thing's really." You're like, "I can't believe they said that."
Yeah, do it. Have fun. They're really good people, and you guys know that anyway.
Yeah. So then after our break, we'll be coming back with some shows. But I think we're gonna start off by doing 1 or 2 samples. We'll sample either sample streams or like maybe a little twofer. Break it up. Some of the distilleries like it better if they're not a part of a gigantic review, even if you break them up for them to find. So we might do little twofers, and then kind of come back same night, see if we catch people off guard. Maybe do one at 8, and then we'll take a break for a minute, have an after show, invite people to come, and then we'll come back and do 2 more. I kind of like that. Hopefully the second set is as high a quality as the first 2.
The pre-show and the shit show.
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Oh,
I think anytime we have a review show, we should have like an invite to the shit show afterwards for the next 7 people that want to join. You can enter the shit show.
Excuse me.
So,
all right.
But on that note, thank you everybody for stopping in. We appreciate it. Once again, we do thank everyone in the military for their service, and for the people who didn't make it back today, more for your families and what you've gone through. So cheers everybody out there.
Cheers.
Good evening.